But the fact is that, I'm the one that said don't go into Iraq. I'm the only one on the stage that said don't go into Iraq. You're going to destabilize. And I wasn't even a politician.
Yeah.
But I said don't go into Iraq. You're going to destabilize the Middle East.
Yeah.
And, these guys all have their finger on the button. It's ridiculous.
Right. No, you were very vocal about that. But I think that's why you have attracted some criticism about that. I want to read you this op-ed today in the Journal, okay? And the title is Donald Trump's MoveOn.org moment. It says, you've adopted the political left's worldview on fundamental questions, including blatant distortions of fact. And this theory that George W. Bush administration deliberately lied to get the U.S. into the Iraq war. You can call it whatever you want. I want to tell you they lied, is what you said, replying to the CBS moderator. They said they were weapons of mass destruction. There were none. Now, you know that there's been years of investigation on this, Donald, and countless memories, and there is no evidence for this claim, none whatsoever.
Nobody knows anything. Look, we went into a war. We destabilized the entire Middle East. The migration and Syria and everything that's happening now in the Middle East was because we made the massive, probably one of the worst mistakes in history, and not just the history of our country, in history. We went into the Middle East. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq because Iraq was holding off Iran. They were fighting each other for decades. They would continue to fight for decades. We knocked the hell out of Iraq, and now, Iran is taking over the Middle East and doing it ruthlessly. And, Jeb's brother did that, and, I'm not saying anything other than it was a massive mistake, and very few people understand anything different than that, including Jeb. Remember, Jeb, it took him 5 days, Maria, 5 days to decide that it was a mistake. Remember, he couldn't ask, then he went to his pollsters, and they finally got it right, and he ultimately admitted that Iraq was a mistake, and it was one of the great blunders in history.
Well, what about the blunder of
everything? If you look at what's happened in the Middle East, going into Iraq, all of the things that are happening now, Saddam Hussein was a very bad person, okay? But Saddam Hussein killed terrorists. Now Iraq is Harvard for terrorism. If you want to become a terrorist, you go to Iraq. That's where they train the terrorists, among other places.
A lot of people would argue that Barack Obama's pulling out of Iraq accelerated things as well, by the way.
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. But going into it, because ultimately you're going to have to get out, it was going to fall anyway. But I agree, he got out very, very badly. Obama was a disaster also. But going in was a horrible, horrible mistake. Then he got out, and that was a very bad way of getting out. First of all, he did two things. He named the date that he's leaving, which was, insane. Can you imagine a general? So the enemy just pulled back, and then they, as soon as we left, they did whatever they wanted to do, and ISIS came about and everything else.
Yeah, and then ISIS got stronger, by the way.
Yeah, they got a lot stronger, but that was a disaster. And, of course, not leaving troops there. Look, I was totally against going in. You know that for many years.
I know you are.
But I was against going in, but then I was against pulling out all of the troops because I said, wait a minute, it's going to totally destabilize too fast.
And it
probably would have happened anyway. But they both, they both made mistakes. But a massive mistake was going into the Middle East, doing that in the first place.
But people want to hear a practical, substantial, with specifics, plan from you. I mean, you got Dick Cheney out talking about that you don't have a practical plan. Speaker Newt Gingrich, okay? He spoke with Greta Van Susteren last night about your attack on Ted Cruz. Listen to what he had to say. I want to get your reaction.
I wish Trump would drop all of the personal ad hominem things which he seems to enjoy so much. I think it weakens the country. I think it weakens him. I think it makes us look stupid. And I'm not defending Cruz or anybody else. I'm just saying I think the whole politics of this kind of personal stuff is almost deranged. That makes no sense to me to spend this kind of time on this kind of personality stuff.
So there's Newt Gingrich. How about coming up with a specific plan to get us out of this quagmire and try to help stabilize the Middle East rather than these personal attacks on your...
First of all, just so you understand, Newt is defending Cruz. And Cruz is the one that does the personal attacks on me. There's never been any politician or almost anybody in my life that I've seen that lies so much. He will say, I'm against the Second Amendment. He will say, I'm totally in favor of Obamacare, which is ridiculous. These are things that are staples of what I'm about. I'm totally in favor of the Second Amendment. You know that because you've seen the speeches. I want the Second Amendment. I've strengthened, if anything. And he says Donald Trump is going to do away. He'll just say things off the cuff. Obamacare, I'm absolutely, totally going to repeal it and replace it. And And Ted Cruz says, oh, he's a big fan of Obamacare. You know, he is a disgrace. He is a liar. So what I say, and by the way, I'm not the only one that said it. Marco Rubio called him a liar during the debate. That was worse than what I said. But Marco Rubio actually had it with him, but he called him a liar. Ted Cruz he's got a mental problem. Ted Cruz is a liar. He's got a problem, but he's a liar. I've never seen anybody to that extent. Okay.
You've got to jump.
We need a plan to get out. We got to get out because we have to rebuild our country. We have a problem. It's called ISIS. They chop off heads. They're horrible. We got to knock the hell out of ISIS. We should have never been in there in the first place, but now we got a problem because after spending trillions and trillions of dollars in the Middle East and being there for 15, 16, 17 years, nobody even knows when it all began. We've regressed. In other words, we're in much worse shape than 15 years ago. Had the politicians gone to the beach and done nothing about the Middle East, we would have been in much better shape than we are right now, obviously. I mean, if, we did nothing, we would have been, and we could have rebuilt our country because our roads are falling apart. Everything's falling apart. Our airports, our roads, our bridges, our tunnels. The country's falling apart because we're spending all of this money in the Middle East. So
which is why I asked you about infrastructure.
We have to knock out ISIS and knock them out strong. We're playing this politically correct game. We have to knock out ISIS and we have to knock them out quickly and viciously. Have to get rid of them. We have to get rid of them because now we're at a point, and the primary reason we have to do it is the kind of weaponry that's available and the kind of damage that can be done. 50 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, you wouldn't have said it. Today, because of the weaponry, you have to do it, and you have to do it quickly.
Yeah, no, you make a lot of good points, particularly the technology that we have. I don't